Welcome to another AVID Chat. David Harpool, Jack Arnold with me again today. Jack, how are you, buddy?
Doing good, man.
Good. Happy October 15th. This is significant if you're filing personal taxes, and this is kind of why we're going to do a chat, because as business owners, we think there's some good things that you should be thinking of as we get towards the end of the year. It's crazy to think that I'm already saying the end of the year, but as planners, that's what we do. So, as a business owner, what are a couple of things that stand out as all right, now's the time we really need to start thinking about this?
I would say there's probably three things. I would say the first thing is taxes. I mean, that's like a big thing. Is you're getting towards the end of the year, you are going to have hopefully a rough idea of how your business performed for the year, whether that's you're a sole proprietor or you're an S corp or however you file, or you have 50 employees or no employees or 500 employees. You're going to have a rough idea of how the year went, and the assumption maybe is it's because of COVID, like everybody's business didn't do very well, but that's not really true. There's some businesses that are doing pretty well considering. So, having a rough idea of what your tax situation is going to be. And like we've seen a bunch of times, if you're a business owner, you've probably had this happen to you. Is you get towards the end of the year, especially if you have a good year and you've got a decent amount of net income in your business. And a lot of times that net income is not like cash that you have in the bank necessarily. It's you've bought things or you've expanded the business and you haven't depreciated it yet, whatever the case is. And then like the calendar turns and you owe, the April 15th comes and your tax person says, oh, you have $200,000 in net income. You owe X amount of dollars. Obviously it flows towards your personal return. And then you're out here scrambling for $50,000 in cash or something that you just don't have. I mean, you've spent it.
Totally normal. Totally normal.
Yeah. So just knowing, even if it gets to the point where you've got that situation where you whatever the case is, you spent the money to grow the business, but you still have that kind of net income in your business that you're going to owe taxes on. Even if it ends up that you need to scramble for some cash or whatever, like at least and now you have 6 months to figure out what am I going to do or do something about it, let's say, before the end of the year. At least you have a plan.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because, the majority of business owners are great at what they do, and we're not CPAs and they normally aren't either. So they kind of even looking at financials and genuinely say, oh, wait, I've got an $80,000 net income going into the end of the year. It's not like I have $80,000 in the bank.
Yep.
So it's not, like you said, it's not direct correlation to what's left over for the company. So you might have some income taxes coming due. And like Jack said, just being prepared about it. So this would be a great time, not today. Let's honor some CPAs. We know they're wrapping up some personals, but I would say starting next week, I would definitely proactively reach out to your CPA, or if you need some referrals, let us know, and start looking at the financials for the quarter, looking towards the future, what possibly could be some tax implications, and how do you plan for it? How do you prepare for it? So great point.
So like you mean like not, it's the 15th. So like the first week in November is probably a great time to start reaching out and figuring this stuff out.
Yeah.
Getting on your tax person, getting your ducks in a row. And, because if you have a plan as to what you're going to do, what you don't want to do is get towards, it's Christmas Eve. Maybe everybody's got plans. You don't want to be going somewhere for Christmas or worrying about like going and doing something on Christmas Eve and scrambling to do something before the end of the year. It's much better to have 8 weeks to figure it out than it is to have, 8 days to do it. And that happens so much, like just waiting till the very end of the year and you end up scrambling. And if anything, you end up closing off opportunities of things that, you could do. So just being prepared would be good.
Yep, no doubt. This came to mind as you were speaking there. Insurance reviews. I think this is a good time of year, season. If you have, maybe you have employee benefits, maybe it's, health insurance. There's all sorts of different insurances your business may have, property and casualty, workers' comp, all these things. Now's also a great time to do that so that you can maybe start off 2021 with the right coverages and premiums and you're not caught off guard too, because as like a homeowner, insurances went up quite a bit this year. So I'm anticipating some of the business stuff will do the same.
Yeah. Well, certainly health insurance. I mean, that seems to just go up 30% a year. So if you don't, proactively shop it around, and a lot of times if you're getting in for quotes on different things or working with an agent on something, they're going to want census information from the employees, and you got to gather that stuff together. If you've got 5, maybe that's not such a big deal, but if you've got 100, it's a little bit more difficult. They're going to have to, it just takes a little while to make these decisions. And again, you don't want to be forced into the last 2 weeks of the year. You're trying to figure this out so you can change your health insurance plan. Now's the time to start thinking, what do I want to do as far as changing it, and start working towards doing that. If you haven't already, those are good things. Adding new benefits. If you're adding a 401k, let's say, and you want to start on the 1st, these are kind of things that you want to start working on now.
Absolutely.
Attention, like everybody is going to wait till the last minute. And if you wait till the last minute, you're like number 50 in line. Better to be number 2 in line if you're doing it at the beginning of December, let's say mid-November. You're going to be way up on the priority list because it's just very few people are going to be doing it then. So just being proactive is going to make a huge difference for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And the company that you may be using as a provider or whatever, they have guidelines too. We worked with some in the past. They're like, all right, by November 15th, if we don't have something submitted to us for like an idea of what we want to do with the business, we just can't do it. So
exactly.
Great.
Yeah. They don't want to make promises they can't keep. So they're trying to be conservative too. Yeah. Just getting ahead of it a little bit. I would say the last thing is the cash flow stuff.
Perfect. I was going to say you said 3 points. I was going to see if you remember the third. So
cash flow. I think this is like an ongoing thing. This is like a yearly thing. I mean, hopefully you're doing this all the time, is monitoring cash flow and what's coming in, what's going out, doing some projection on how the next few months are going to go. But towards the end of the year, it gets a little bit more important, only because the end of the year makes a huge difference, especially tax-wise, is knowing how did 20 end up versus what I expected. Is it way better? Obviously, we got to throw the COVID situation in there. Did it end up way better than I thought? Did it end up way worse than I thought? What am I going to do for 21, and having some kind of idea as to what the plan is going forward. If you had a blowout 20 for some reason, that maybe you're in real estate or something, or or a realtor perhaps, and you just blow out 20, what are the chances of that continuing in 21? I don't know, but having some plan as to, maybe next year's 20% lower than it was this year, or maybe the opposite is true. You got destroyed this year and now you think it'll turn up next year. So just having an idea, this is how 20 went for the first 3 quarters. This is what I think the 4th quarter is going to be. What are the implications for 21? I think would be important.
I think that emphasizes the thought of being proactive with your CPA here in the next couple of weeks to get an idea of that, how the quarter went. Most businesses, I would say, could anticipate what the 4th quarter of this year looks like, unless you're maybe the first year you're in business or second. You know some trends or tendencies anyway. And like you said, I would say be conservative on the cash flow projections. What you don't want to do is overcommit to employee benefits and bonuses and let's start a 401k because things are great and I got all this extra cash and I can handle the taxes and blah, blah, blah. And then next year comes and you're just like, I'm scrambling for cash. And then you're going back into retirement accounts, or you're, so just being mindful of that. Cash flow is huge for sure.
The tax thing is big. I think there's one thing we've seen like frequently is getting towards the end of the year, talking to your tax person's giving you quick solutions. So a lot of times this is just buying something, spending money on something to reduce your taxes, let's say, which isn't always necessarily the right thing to do. Perhaps it saves you taxes, but spending $1 to save 30 cents, let's say, is just not, if it's valuable to the business, fine, but spending money just to save 30 cents, $1 to save 30 cents is just a waste. Or you don't do something like that, you somewhat ignore it, and then you get towards, tax filing deadline, and April 12th comes and your tax person says, hey, Mr. Business Owner, yeah, man, last year was killer, man. You did a great job. You owe $75,000 in tax, and you're thinking, what the hell? I don't have $75,000 in the bank. I need to scramble for 75. I think that's the thing that pops up most. So that's kind of reiterating number one, but I think that's probably the most common thing that we have seen is kind of that tax scramble without some kind of idea of how you're going to come up with the cash if you do need to pay taxes on some net income or something that flows to you personally.
Yeah, and I even think like if you're a smaller business and maybe it's just you or one other employee or a family member, a lot of your business stuff flows right into your personal. So then it can even be more impactful not knowing the cash flow. Then you're dipping into personal stuff or you have loans out that, might have a negative impact on the business. So yeah, without question. I think the theme here is to start thinking about this now. If we can help in any way at AVID, I mean, that's what we do, help you think, plan, and live. So reach out to us. We have resources, plenty of professionals here in the local area anyway, that can help you in all of these avenues that we talked about. Anything else to add?
Be proactive. Get ahead of it. Don't wait till the last minute.
Sounds great. Well, thanks again for joining us for another chat with AVID. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again soon.